Everybody's looking for that. Fuck that. The heart makes you who you are.
The heart will teach you any hacks that, if there are any hacks.
Listen to guys like Sean Whalen and Brad Lee and all those guys. They always talk about taking care of yourself, being the best version of you. That's what you have to do. And if you're not doing it, shame on you. Go get that coaching like from you and what you're doing and all the cool things that you've got going on. Come talk to me. Let's make that magic happen. And let's do it so we can be collectively have that positive impact on the communities. You know, that victim mentality. Throw that in the trash. Anything and everything that you are experiencing now, if you have faith is a big word for us. You have faith in your abilities to get through it, faith in the big man in JC to help guide you through it, and faith that you'll be better for going through it. That only makes you a better person.
Yes.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, and today we got a special opportunity for you because I got a friend in the studio and we get to smoke a cigar this morning.
Life is good.
Life is good. We got Brian Hemming with us today, all the way from Bozeman, Montana. If I could talk this morning and get my words out,
Dude,
so that'd be a little bit more helpful.
Dude, you just gotta wait for the tobacco to kick in and kind of
he's into it. That's right. So Brian's visiting here. We're smoking a good cigar this morning. He gifted me this beautiful Trinidad. Which one is this? The Vigia?
I believe so.
Yeah. Trinidad's don't miss for me. I love it. So thank you again for this. What are you smoking? What'd you pick out?
I got the Angorzia Supreme Leaf. Nicaraguan. So excited to have this. First time I've ever had it. I know they make a great cigar. So yeah, it's off to a great start. And I got, coffee to go with it.
Coffee to go with it.
Monday morning, doing it right.
That's right. For those that don't know, and I've said this often, a lot of people drink drink bourbon or rum with cigars. Yeah. For me, a Cuban with coffee is my favorite thing.
I can't go wrong. I have evolved my cigar enjoyment to coffee and sparkling water. Yeah. And so you can enjoy the tobacco more, in my opinion. I know there are other people out there, as soon as I said that, are probably kicking and screaming. But just for me, I really enjoy coffee, sparkling water. And I think too, with the pairing of the cigars and coffee, it kind of keeps things in the guardrails.
Yeah.
I know before with like rum and whiskeys and all that other stuff, it almost felt like the tobacco and the bourbons and the whiskeys and everything were fighting each other for space on your palate.
Yeah.
And it was a constant like, well, what do I have or what's coming? Whereas with coffee or sparkling water, everything's just kind of smooth.
Yeah. It remains more neutral.
Yeah. And you're able to just enjoy it. And enjoyed it before, but it's just a different evolvement.
Yeah.
Different change.
Or maybe we're just getting more mature and don't need the alcohol with our cigar.
There you go. I mean, but also too, depending on when you're having. I mean, here we are Monday morning. Yeah. We're going at it right now. So I mean, this conversation can go a lot of ways if we change what we're having our cigars with.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so this conversation is going to be a little bit different because Brian and I are getting to know each other today. And so we're going to let you in on just a little conversation on how we go about conversing, getting to know each other, asking about each other's businesses and personal lives, and how we help each other get better. And Brian's got a great background in leadership and coaching. Yep. So I'm excited to dive right in. So why don't you give the audience a little backdrop from going collegiate athlete, basically straight into coaching.
Yeah.
And how it's evolved from there.
Yeah, I mean, life is amazing, and life will take some different turns, and you'll have opportunities presented to you at the most random times and unannounced. And I think you just got to be ready to capitalize on that and walk into them. I think when it comes to coaching and leadership, I'm gonna say it all starts with my mom and my dad. I was blessed. My brother and I joke about it. But in a serious way, that when it comes to our parents, we hit the lottery. Unbelievable father, unbelievable mother, God rest her soul. And so they were the first coaches I experienced. And, they led through example, through guidance, through conversations, letting us fail, being there to not pick us up, but kind of push us along and get us up and moving again after we got knocked down. And just them as people are just great role models. And my dad's a colonel in the Marines. My mom was a librarian. So just
that's a dichotomy.
Yeah. Just a very grounded, grounded people, experiences. And, my dad led men in peace and war. My mom loved books. So it's just kind of this really cool thing. But I was very blessed, fell in love with a sport called lacrosse. And, a lot of people watching this and will watch this know what it is now. I mean, the sport's grown a lot.
But you were East Coast growing up, right? Yeah,
East
which
Coast
was much more popular than now in the Midwest. It's blowing up.
Oh, completely.
But East Coast was the only game in town at our age anyhow.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. And, the fact that, we live outside of Bozeman, a little town called Belgrade. My 10-year-old son, I coach his lacrosse team. That's really cool to see. Here we are, I'll go out to practice and there's a kid taking off his cowboy boots to put on his cleats for practice. And I sent a picture back to Coach Nadlin at Towson. That was the last place that I coached. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, look at this. Like, this is lacrosse. Cowboy boots, Cascade helmet, Maverick equipment and sticks. And like, you don't see that any place else except Montana.
Do you ride in a horse or a four-wheeler?
I don't think that day, but we do live in a place where I see people taking their horse to work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
No, it is. And so, lacrosse has been a huge part of my life, and I've been blessed to play a great game, have the abilities mentally, physically to learn and grow with that game, but also too just blessed with the men that coached me, led me, allowed me to follow, taught me how to follow, and mentored. I mean, every coach that I have had from youth league through college is in a Hall of Fame or will be in a Hall of Fame or multiple Hall of Fames. And that's really, really cool on one level. But more importantly, they took a sport and used that as a tool to mold young men, boys, into being a man. And that was really impactful. Yeah, we were there to learn about a game we loved, have fun, compete, work on becoming the best versions of ourselves. And the winning and everything else was a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
And it was just really, really cool to be around that for years. And, and it's just really special. And I'm grateful for that. And where I'm at today with what we're doing with H group coaching and all that, I stand on the shoulders of giants that took time away from their lives, their families' lives to work with me and my teammates over the years to get us to where we needed to be. And when you think about that, like that's, wow, holy shit. Like that's really, really cool.
Yeah. There's a responsibility that comes with that as well.
Oh yeah.
Right.
The burden of leadership. It's not lighthearted. It is not for the weak or the timid. You have to lean into it because all successes and all failures will fall squarely on your shoulders. And if you're not ready to bear that weight, maybe it's not for you.
Yeah.
I mean, but also too, have you had those experiences to set yourself up for success in those roles? Are you open to learn as you're leading? Are you open to listening to who you're leading? Because it's not just a cookie cutter approach. Like what worked on a Monday doesn't guarantee you that it's going to work on Thursday. And what helped you win a huge game on Saturday doesn't guarantee you're going to win a huge game on the following Saturday. Like it's a moving target, but you as a leader, you as a man have to be able to flex and pivot and move into those things.
Okay.
My brother, who is a colonel in the Marines, followed my dad's footsteps, aviator as well, flew the Super Cobra. And he actually just recently went over to Okinawa and he's the CEO of MAG 36. The Marine Air Group over there, and he'll be over there for the next 3 years doing his thing. one of the things that we always talk about, and also conversations with my father and sitting down with him and listening to his sage advice, who at one time, like, I thought he didn't know anything, but I mean, the guy's a genius. Now you look back on it and the examples he gave and the conversations you had, maybe at the time I wasn't open to them, but looking back on it, I'm like, man, that guy was brilliant.
Sage advice. You just didn't want to hear it in your immature days.
Exactly. You just nailed it right there. And then when it does hit and when it does click at the right time, which might be years later, you're like, wow. I've actually called my dad numerous times and be like, I know you don't remember this conversation, but you nailed it. Thank you. It just took me a few years to figure it the fuck out.
As it does for all of us.
Yeah. And so one of the things that we talk about is when it comes to leadership, whether it's personal leadership or team leadership, is resolute at your core, constant in your devotion, and flexible on the periphery. And that can guide you, your decision-making, your efforts, so they're not wasted.
What do you think is the hardest one of those for people to grasp? I have an opinion, but I want to hear yours.
I think it's flexible on the periphery.
That's what I would have said.
I think it's the hardest one because I think humans are all habitual. Like, we create patterns, good, bad, or indifferent, and we stick to them no matter what. You stay in shape, I stay in shape. We're always a work in progress. We find ourselves like, all right, well, I have to work out. I have to hit my macros. I've got to do this. I've got to get my steps in. You'll find yourself adjusting and doing things to fit what needs to be done. But what if you're traveling one day? Or what if you get sick? Or what if your wife has to go do something? Or something happens with one of your children, God forbid? And like, can you be flexible on the periphery just to roll with it? Or does it completely throw you off the tracks and you spend time and heartbeats trying to get back into your patterns instead of just like, all right, cool. I lost a Wednesday. That doesn't mean I lose the week. I just lost a Wednesday. I'm going to make sure I compete again on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and finish strong.
Yep. I have a rule never to miss twice.
Yeah. You just keep going,
because it can go backwards the other way. Right. So you said, we're habitual, right? So if we miss 2 days in a row, now it's a pattern. So if you do miss Wednesday, don't miss Thursday because you don't want to get down that negative slide. Now, I agree. The flexibility piece has to be, and actually in the tech sector, specifically Silicon Valley, they really coined the agile methodology and remaining agile with their means to achieve whatever outcome they're trying to achieve. And a lot of entrepreneurs could utilize that methodology or just mentality of remaining flexible in your means. Like I always talked about when I was running the firm and I had 250 people and our goal was to recruit, some year we average in between 40 and 50 advisors. And so we always had these recruiting targets because our responsibility was to grow the territory. And I learned a lot of leaders were like, okay, we have to do this step of the process, this step of the process. I'm like, that doesn't necessarily make sense. I was like, I understand that they need all the information. So what I taught my team is like, hey, there are no absolutes in recruiting. Like if I'm recruiting Brian and he needs to see the financials because financials was typically the last thing. And that's where people would meet me for final.
Yep.
But him and his wife really need to know the financials now before they move forward in this process. We really like them. We think it's core values alignment. All those, tests have been passed. Well, we're not going to wait till the end if that's what he really needs right now. So I just taught him like, if we need to circumvent the process, we're still going to hit all the parts. We're just going to move them around, move the puzzle pieces around. Let's do that. And we had a much higher success rate than most, I think, because we were flexible in our means.
Yeah. And I think too, is just recognizing the environment, because what works in one environment doesn't work in the other environment. And at the end of the day, like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to recruit and retain the best. So you're going to have to tweak a couple things depending on the individual.
Yes.
And sit there and be like, all right, well, cool. Well, Josh, like the example you just gave. Okay. I know that's technically the last piece in the process, but hey, he's great. He's got it. He's got the juice. We know he'll be successful here if we train him up, encourage, support, challenge him for success. We know he will be a winner. We've recognized that. Okay, let's move the puzzle pieces around. It's still going to make the same great picture, but let's just move them around.
Yeah. Exactly.
Maybe we put this one in earlier and then put the other one in later. But at the end of the day, what are we looking for? What's the result we really want to achieve?
To recruit and retain talent, which should be one of the bigger things for all entrepreneurs as they're trying to grow. There's two things you mentioned in your backdrop that I want to go back to. First, I have to give a shout out to my parents because on the date of this recording, August 19th, it's their 45th anniversary.
That is awesome.
Happy anniversary to Mom and Dad, Steve and Denise Kosnick. So say
happy
that
anniversary. I hope you guys enjoy your day. Thanks for setting a good example for Josh and others.
That's exactly right. My mom, similar to yours, it sounds, was just the sweetest person on earth. We'd be standing in line at Six Flags and, she'd have 5 friends around us already.
I love it.
My dad is the hard charging achiever that was the one that, changed our family's trajectory as far as success was concerned and what was possible. So that being said, the other thing you said was you were taught how to be a good follower.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, I think, a key piece that a lot of leaders miss, and especially leaders that are trying to train new leaders, is I've always said this, like, you got to be willing to carry the crown before you can wear the crown. And so many nowadays feel that they're entitled to wear the crown. So what were you taught? What were some of the key lessons about being a good follower? Because you were coached by some incredible and worked alongside some incredible coaches. How did they instill that lesson for an entrepreneur that's listening, trying to, breed up or build up that next layer of leaders in their organization?
Well, I think, again, another analogy to go with, you got to carry the crown before you wear it. I've some of the people that I've worked with, I've talked about this, is, hey, if you want a seat at the table, be willing to serve the water first. And I think that's how you can see how leadership is done well or not well, is by following. Like, how do you know unless you are willing to be led by others and put yourself in that position where you can see what works, see what doesn't, see how leadership in different situations and different scenarios plays out. So when it's your turn, you can make the best decision with the information you have and the environment you're in, instead of just, oh, this is what the playbook says, or this is what I heard on this podcast. Oh, my ego won't allow me to do anything but this, and just drive forward hell or high water into the wrong decision because that's what I'm going to do, or that's what I think I have to do, instead of taking that breath, deep one, surveying everything, people, personalities, environment, everything. And then here's the decision that we need to make as a team from me. This is what we're going to do to move forward and earn our success. I've seen, and where a lot of people are like, this is just what we're doing. And if they can't keep up, F them, move on. You're like, dude, like that works short term, but long term it's not going to work. And so you have to learn those lessons by watching others lead, being coached, having some outside perspective, and just listening, and seeing with your eyes. And you do that, like when you lead, you see one angle or multiple angles in front, but when you're behind, you can see the effects of those decisions from the leader. Like I said earlier, like what worked, what didn't, good, bad, or indifferent, which one do we want to deal with? And so that's how you gain those skills. That's how you develop your leadership credentials, is by following. If you want to be a leader, you got to follow first. I mean, there's kind of a path. But I think now these days, the word you used, entitlement, or, hey, just because I did these 3 things, I deserve this and I should get that, but I'm going to skip these 8 other steps that are vital to really growing your leadership capabilities. Like you can't just like go from, here you go. Like you can go from there's steps, man. And I think, as if you understand, like, you can't get from A to Z, like, you can't skip those steps, but you can get to A to F faster. And that helps you get down the path you want to get to. And so what are you doing to get to A to F? Are you surrounding yourself with winners, people who know you, are going to challenge you for success, are going to call you on your bullshit? That's great. You want to be around people like that. Like, hey, Josh, man, I think you're doing a great job, man. You are nailing it. But have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Can you tweak this? Or how's your team responding to what you're doing? Are they keeping up with the pace that you've created in your head, but you realize you're running ahead so fast that you're leaving them behind? Now your team's playing catch up to Josh instead of you guys walking shoulder to shoulder to create whatever you want to create. Is it leadership with the hard charger and everybody behind, or is it shoulder to shoulder? It's a huge difference. And the dichotomy of leadership is going to change with it.
Yep. Yeah, I actually told Alec this story the other day. Chad Wright, former Navy SEAL, was telling a story because he was down at First Form visiting. And you may have even heard this, but he ran through a big exercise with a lot of the employees there. And there's some badass employees, fit people that work for First Form. Yeah,
First Form, love them. I use their stuff all the time. I got a protein bar out there waiting for
it. I saw that.
I got my meat stick up in the house.
Great protein sources, quick snacks. So he's doing a workout with them, and obviously some of the badasses got through it pretty effectively. He's out there doing it with them with probably, I don't know, he probably had 60 pounds on his chest and back at the same time because he's still a badass.
Freak.
And there's some guys done kind of in the locker room or in the gym, untying their shoes, fitting up. He runs in there and goes with his Southern accent. He's like, what the hell y'all doing? You got teammates out there. Get your stuff back on, get your asses out there and go get them. And that's exactly the point. You're like, you might be in a leadership role. And at times you may not notice that you're blazing far too far out in front. And you got to kind of slow down and come back and go lift up your team. Go encourage them, do whatever you can to get them across the finish line. And so I thought that was a great example because that was a workout, but he was instilling a lesson for work.
Oh, completely. And I think too, Josh, to add to that is great experience for me was becoming a father and having 3 little human beings call me dad. I'm blessed. I've got 2 sons, 12 and 10, Owen and Ian. I've got a beautiful daughter, Blair, who's 8, and she's everything I didn't know I wanted in a daughter. She has me wrapped around.
I got that 3 times.
Okay, over. So you get
no,
it.
exactly.
And more importantly, Erin, a beautiful, smart, sexy, smart woman, chose me. And I think one of the things that helped me in my leadership styles and learning about leadership and how I wanted to lead and lead now was becoming a father. And that shifts the dynamic, that shifts the views of what needs to be done and how it should be done and how you can get people to be the best versions of themselves. And that example that you gave being down at, First Form HQ and this workout, hey, just because you're done and you're the leader doesn't mean you're done. You're not done until the last person's done.
That's right.
And so you need to kind of keep, being engaged, encouraging, motivating, pulling, dragging, getting people carrying, like where they need to be. And great story with that. So my oldest son, he loves to run. You learn that, and he had the conversation with me, like he was playing team sports, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, I not kind of my thing. I love watching Ian do his thing, but I really love to run." So now he's into running. He runs with a great program out in Bozeman, the Bozeman Track Club. But when we were back east, started doing trail runs together. After this decision and supporting him, because your job as a parent, as a father, is to first and foremost, love your kids, but create opportunities and experiences for them to grow and understand the world around them and how they'll fit into it. And so I'm out there and I'm like, all right, cool, let's go do some trail runs. And I was running at the time, a lot of CrossFit, doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I remember when we were running, like, dude, he was slow as the day is long. I was like, come on, man. I want, like, again, selfish leadership. I wasn't viewing it as father-son time. I was viewing it as my workout time.
Yeah, your workout.
And now I'm dragging this kid around through the woods and these awesome trails. And I'm like, come on. That's how it started. And then in time, Owen, being 5, 10, 15 steps behind me, all of a sudden was 5 to 8 steps behind me. All of a sudden was hip to hip. And I remember one time it was a technical trail. And so you got to go single file, but there's a spot where it like opens up and you can go hip to hip and run together and have a conversation. And then you're going to go back into line. And so we came out of this one where I was leading. I was like, all right, I'm going to start us out, hit start on the Garmin and away you go. And we get to that point and Owen's right there on my hip. And then he gets 2 steps in front of me, 3 steps in front of me in this one spot. And then he's gone. Like, it goes back to the single track. I mean, this kid's gone. I'm like, oh shit, where's my kid? I'm like, Owen, and he stops like, I'm up here, Dad. And so there was that time right then and there where like the passing of the torch, where it's like, okay. And so one of the things teaching him, I was like, hey, listen, now that you're going to be leading Dad on these runs now, and I had to choke that one down. I had to some pride and some ego. I had to get I had to choke down some humble pie. I was like, but that was cool. That was really cool to watch that evolvement of my son and his athletic abilities. I was like, all right, now that you're leading, you need to understand that I am behind you and you can't just go tear off through the woods. I need you at certain points. All you need to do is look over your shoulder and go, hey, how are you? Where you at? Something, give me some sort of acknowledgement that you see me and know that I am in your presence. And you still keep moving. I'm not telling you to stop or go backwards for me. I'm just telling you, you need to be aware of where I am, your team is. And so that way we can finish the run, not together, but we're going to finish the run. Our team is going to finish that run.
Yep.
You're going to come in front of me. I'm going to probably come in behind you by a few, even though, I'm going to do what every typical dad or every person tries to do. Is like pick it up at the last bit, but I mean, it wasn't happening with that kid. Like, that kid was just gone. But I was, again, teaching him because that's what I would do when I would run with him. And he started out 10, 15, 20 steps behind me. I'd be like, hey man, where you at? You good? Then you listen, you hear what your team relays back to you, and then you can adjust the paces. Or you can just be a selfish son of a bitch and just keep hammering down and just leave them in the woods someplace. But does that make you a good leader or a bad leader? Makes you a bad leader.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
learning that lesson through my son was amazing.
Yeah.
But I remember
I was waiting for the part of the story where he started smoking you. I knew it was coming.
Oh, dude, it's inevitable. Yeah. I mean, it really is. And that's something too, as you and I both grow and evolve as men, like you go from young athlete, learning athlete to mature athlete. And there's different requirements and there's different capabilities at each level. You just got to own and embrace where you're at. And you and I have seen it, whether it's been in business or other places where you might be at a different level and you aspire to get to a higher level, but maybe you're not willing to learn and do the right things to get there in time. And then in other places, you're trying to, you're at a higher level and you realize that you're trying to do stuff at an earlier level when you maybe physically you were more capable. Because as you become a mature athlete, a mature entrepreneur, a mature business owner, a more mature person, things change and you have to change your expectations. Doesn't mean you change where you're going by any stretch, maybe just how you get there.
Or
It's
if you
gonna look
can't change,
different.
if you can't change, it's time to pass the torch.
Oh, completely. And you have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine too. You'd be like, all right, I've gotten us to this point, and I know that if we want to go here, maybe my role changes. But again, if you've never followed, if you've never been on the periphery, you've never been shoulder to shoulder or whatever, like, you don't know that's a possibility. You don't know that's an option.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm sure you've seen it, where you just see individuals, leaders, businesses just get frustrated and they get stagnant, and then they start this circle of pain where it's, hey, we need to do this. And then there's some fleeting motivation, but the habits, the patterns, the discipline isn't there because, you sit there, you don't see the results right away, and then you quit, you stop, and then you find yourself revisiting the same issue months, years later, trying to move the needle again. And it's like, why? Like, why did that happen? Like, what's going on? And, when you start looking at issues, like, let's be objective here. Like, if you look at everything good that's happened in your life or everything bad that's happened in your life, what's the common denominator? You. And so let's start looking at you.
And then that's the question I use in business as well, right? So everything good about your business because of you.
Yeah.
Everything bad also because of you. So looking at things objectively, making sure that we look at the issues objectively, and then asking the question, are we worried about what is right? Or are we worried about who is right? And for long-time listeners, you hear me say that, but you hear me say that often, but it bears repeating as often as possible, because that question isn't just appropriate in business. It's appropriate in an argument with your spouse or a disciplinary thing with your kids or whatever it may be. That question is appropriate because too often our ego gets in the way and we're worried about, oh, I'm right, versus no, what's right to move us forward, right? So like if Jenna and I were in an argument, and let's say I was clearly right, in my opinion. Does it benefit me to try and prove I'm right, or just say I'm sorry, because what is right is for us to move on and have a happy marriage?
Exactly. But again, what are you doing with your ego? Can you handle your ego? What have you done to learn how to deal with your ego? But also see the big picture. So many people get caught with what's right in front of them and like, hey, I'm going to win this argument on a Tuesday morning. Great, but you're seeing a divorce lawyer in 3 months. Was
that worth it? Was that worth 50% of your assets?
Yeah, hey, great job, man. You won Tuesday, but you lost. You lost the event.
Yeah, and that's so often our ego, and a lot of times, Jenna and I were having this conversation. I think Saturday we were heading downtown to meet the entrepreneurs and their wives that we had here, and it was yesterday heading up to the Dells, but there was a person that wasn't going to be there that's extremely weird around me. This guy that I went to college with and just has this kind of weird complex with me. And I said, "Hun, I've met plenty of those people. And even though we loosely know each other, he's a few years younger than me, we were in the same fraternity, he has a complex with me. Reason being is I'm 100% secure in my skin and he is not."
Yeah.
And that's a threat to people that are insecure, but they may have some success in their life. They may be having a totally decent life, but they are not authentic to who they are. And people that are 100% authentic to who they are make them feel really insecure. And so he acts super weird around me and does this weird stuff and acts weird to her, to the tune, we were at a Packers game, same mutual group of friends. He gets all twisted, drunk, and wants to arm wrestle me. Now, keep in mind, I'm 3 times his size.
Yeah.
But he was dead set on arm. I'm like, I'm not arm wrestling you. What are we proving here? It's just dumb.
No, and I think too is, you are who you are. Embrace that. It isn't me versus Josh. It's not me versus Alec. It's
you versus you.
It's me versus me.
Yeah.
Am I better than I was yesterday? Am I competing with myself to be the best version of myself so I can be a positive impact on others around me?
That's right.
First and foremost, my family, my wife, my kids, my community. who I have pulled into my circle, my sphere of influence, my friends. And with that circle, as people go down the entrepreneurial path, this, I know this through different life changes. I mean, you look at your journey, you look at my journey, like life will change, situations will change, your friend circle will change. And the more you go outside the guardrails of normal, the more isolating it can become. And Aaron and I were having a conversation about this the other night. I was talking about a friend of mine, somebody who I know very, very closely, and just with the way life is going, what we are doing as a family, what we are doing with FitFo and H group coaching, I find him more, it's not that he has done anything wrong, not that I have done anything wrong, but it's just kind of the natural evolvement of the circle. Like it's, instead of being on the very ends of the circle, now he's kind of on the periphery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Not that I don't like him and he doesn't like me, but his life is tracking one way. My life is tracking another way. And it's, instead of running together, we're kind of running parallel. And I guarantee you, like, our lines will intersect again, run together for a little bit, and then we'll move out again, and that's totally cool. But I think some people really get jammed up about that. And they're like, they don't make decisions that are in the best interest for them, their families, or their businesses because they're fearful of judgment and letting other people down or being perceived a certain way. And at the end of the day, I've said this to an individual that we work with is, hey, at the end of the day, you're not going to share a bed. And at the end of your life, they ain't putting you in the same coffin.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So why are you allowing this person to have this much influence on what you're doing?
Yeah. I've gotten really good at compartmentalizing friends. It's interesting. People struggle with that exact thing you're talking about a lot, feeling like they owe these friends from college or high school something. When no, they were just there for that season.
Yeah.
And you've outgrown them. You don't owe them shit. They don't owe you shit. It's like you've expanded and grown. It's actually pretty analogous to, hey, when I was a financial advisor, like, and for those of you that know, like, if the advisor's growing faster than you're growing, it's likely that he or she outpaces you and you become a lesser important client. Conversely, if you outgrow that advisor, it's likely that you fire that advisor and get one that's growing at least as much as you are.
Yeah.
So it's incumbent upon both of you to continue growing. And so similar with the friendship circles is you both got to grow at the same pace to remain in that inner circle.
Oh, completely. And I think too, is with that growth and with that change is like working with individuals, helping them become the best versions of themselves is people will put you in a box and be like, all right, Josh is over here and he's in this box that I have created for him because it fits my needs and is convenient for me. And so if you start doing something, whether it's, growing wealth, getting fit, working on, being the best version of you, having an awesome family and doing all those things, it doesn't fit my perception or my box of that I've put you in. What do those people tend to do? Try and do anything to keep you in that box.
Pull you back down.
Pull you back.
Like
The crabs in the pot. They're like, hey, just, I'm just going to like chip away at you and pull and not let you, get it going. Where for me, I'm like, dude, you go do you, man. Hey, you did that. You've earned it, man. High fives and bro hugs all day, man. I want you to win. I get excited about that. I want you to win. Cool. And if I'm there to help you hold up the trophy because I've done my role and I've played my part in that part of your journey or that season of your life, totally cool, man.
Yeah,
totally
I'm
cool.
Sitting here smiling because I had this example yesterday, and these are great friends. It's more just jabs. But if you're not a secure person, those jabs can get to you like little, crabs pulling you down like little by little.
Oh yeah.
So yesterday we're up at the Kalahari and all the kids are playing. Us adults are conversing, and one of the wives says, "Hey, let's get a picture of you boys." And one of the guys goes, not till Josh puts his shirt back on.
Dude, shirts off all day, bro.
I was like, no.
Shirts off all day. You earned that, man. You work hard.
And he actually followed that up with that. And I said, hey, and you can come work out with me anytime. Invite's open. So the jabs aren't going to get to me, right? And it was coming from good spirits, but it was more about, them feeling not as adequate in that instance as me because I put in that work that they haven't put in. That being said, for those that are a little bit insecure, those jabs can be like, wait, is he trying to hurt my feelings or pull me back down because I've worked hard for this? Like, I'm like, no, I want to lift them up so that they feel just as good as I do with my shirt off.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting in the friendship circles. I was listening to Ed Milet's podcast last week with Emmanuel Acho. Did you hear that one?
Not yet.
So good.
Okay.
So good. Both Sam and Emmanuel Acho, man, they are some bright people. Just like on it, personal development wise, some just wise brothers. And Emmanuel said this: you have door friends, window friends, and floor friends. And the point to your point was the door friends see themselves in and out based on circumstance, time of season of life, whatever it may be. Window friends, you keep at a distance, you observe them. The floor friends are there for you to support you, to lift you up, to pick you up off the floor. They're there in that inner circle. And sometimes floor friends can turn into door friends and door friends can turn into window friends. But it was such a great analogy because I had the blessing when everything fell apart for me with Northwestern and I was terminated. It's like one of the gifts that I was bestowed was I found out who was real in my life and who wasn't.
Yep.
And so few people get that gift.
Yeah, I feel now like when you can find those people, whether they're windows, doors, or floors, and again, them being there for you when they've seen you at your worst or dealing with a situation that is not good, you hold on to those. And I shared an analogy with somebody too. I mean, it's great being a coach and having been around coaches my whole life and playing sports to the highest level, again, blessed is like, it's a world of analogies in coaching. Like that's analogies and more analogies and all that. But,
or we just quote Lombardi.
Just flip through a book and find, Lombardi, Wooden, Krzyzewski, anybody, or, Nadler, and be like, all right, here we go. Kudelka, like, all right, what did he say? Or Coach RJ Johnson or somebody. You're like, all right, what about these guys? Coach James, like all these great coaches. Again, I stand on the shoulders of giants and I'm blessed. But like one of them that I shared with somebody last week is don't eat a meal with somebody who you wouldn't starve with.
Mm.
And that hit home to this individual. I'm like, there you go. I was like, I've learned that lesson.
It's also biblical. I mean, there's a lot to say about breaking bread with people.
Oh, completely. That is breaking bread with somebody, sharing a cigar with somebody forces you to slow down and be in the moment. Like you're not going to eat a 3-course meal in one bite. I mean, you are literally in an environment where it's going to take some time. Now, these are some really good cigars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these aren't like lung darts, cowboy killers where you can like finish them in like 3 drags and you're moving on.
Backwards.
This is, you're going to have a conversation. You're going to get to know. You're going to start to build a genuine relationship with somebody to see where they're at, what's going on, what their thoughts are and where they want to go. You're going to learn about where they've been, understand where they're at now, and hear about hopefully what they want to do. And the cool thing with the coaching that you do and the coaching that I do is, we work with them to develop those processes to get from where they are now to where they want to be.
Yep.
And really kind of lean into that. And, but I think just being able to slow down and in a world now where everybody wants it 10 minutes ago and really have those conversations and build that relationship, those relationships where you can lean into them. Like, all right, cool, man. I hear you.
Yep.
I see you. Now, what are we going to do? How are you going to do it? How can I help you do that? And I think that's really a testament to the individuals, being willing to sit down and share time. More importantly, share heartbeats. I was fortunate to be at an event Superhuman, John Mattson, he's big in the fitness world. I mean, he is doing some amazing things with his business, Superhuman. And Tim Grover was one of the speakers down at Superhuman 24 down in Scottsdale. And Tim Grover posed this question to everybody in that room. And those are all ballers that are part of the Superhuman group. Like, those are people who want the best version of themselves, their businesses, their families. And the tip of the iceberg is being the best version of you physically. And that carries over into everything else. But Tim Grover posed this question, and he was like, what's the most important commodity in the world? What does everybody say? Time. Everybody's like, time's the most important commodity. Time is just a thing. It just keeps moving whether you're there or not. Like, it just moves.
I would say your health.
Tim hit it right on the head. He goes, the most important commodity is your heartbeats and what you're doing with those heartbeats, who you're spending them with, and how, and, you know, everything around it. And when you hear something like that, you're like, wow, that's super impactful. Because here we are, we've all been, you know, taught, or it's been like hammered into us of like, time's the most important thing. Actually, it's your heartbeats. And when you think about it, I mean, both you and I hit the lottery today. The sun was coming up here in Wisconsin. I was able to open my eyes. I took a huge, deep breath. Hell, all my parts were attached. I'm winning the lottery, man. I have a day today, this day, to make the most of it and be the best version of me.
That's right.
And hopefully have a positive impact on others. And share my heartbeats with others. You know, be proactive, be productive. And I think a lot of people these days don't view it that way. You know, and I think once you kind of understand that and have like a little bit of a shift, being flexible on periphery with your mindset, like, oh, wow, like that's something new. Can I adapt it, absorb it? Or do I just hold to what I do and ignore it? You know, but
well, though, that little heartbeat, or those little inklings that you're referencing there are God whispers, right? And I've leaned into this a lot lately, especially over the last few years, is like, we get so focused in our early 20s and 30s and figuring out what we are going to do, a profession, how to make that a living, how to make wealth or wealth creation from that we forget that our God-given purpose is to actually put it back into the world in service of others. So it's to figure out what our unique gifts are that God gave each of us. But then our job is to put it back into the world in service of others.
Oh, completely. And I think too, like, what happens when you lose all the wealth? What happens when you do fall on hard times? What happens when you just get kicked in the balls again, maybe again? Is, you know, one of the things is adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. So when you're sitting there and you're at your lowest lows, you're in a shitty situation, you need to go back and lean on those things about positive, productive, being a good human being, giving to others, to rebuild that wealth, to earn that success again, whatever that looks like. You know, you need to fall back on that. But if you've never developed those skills, you've never had that understanding, that's where you find a lot of people, businesses just floundering. And we see it today. I mean, Alec and I went out and grabbed a bite to eat, and you could just see like some people, we had interaction with somebody. You're like, wow, man, like, this is what you're bringing to the world today. Yeah, I don't know that person's story or situation, but hey, maybe a positive nudge or having them see an example of what it can look like, shift the needle enough so they can start doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And being the best versions of themselves.
Yeah, 100. It's interesting. There's so many people that are beat down, but they don't know it's on their own accord and in their own control, right? So when I was at my lowest of lows, the hardest part of that was not being in service of others.
Yeah.
Is because I had a 6-month period where I'm negotiating my exit still with the company. My hands were tied. It's like, never mind that I, felt betrayed, stabbed in the back, all those different feelings, shame, guilt, all the different things. the hardest part was not being in service to others.
Yeah. I mean, when you find yourself in that situation, I mean, survival mode, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, depending on what's going on, like you have a tendency to pull it all in and hold on to what little you have. That scarcity mindset really sets in instead of the abundance mindset of like, okay, not a great situation, but that doesn't change who I am and how I'm going to go about things. Maybe I don't do it at the level I would like to, but I do know that's the right thing to do. And I'm still going to do it to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Give myself to others, be a positive influence, work hard, be the best husband I can be, the best father I can be the best coach I can be, and just help other people do that. It'll come back. You know, it's no longer an if, it's always going to be a when. You just got to be able to weather the when.
Yep.
And understand that all it is just a time. It's a chunk of time. It's not the end of the road. It's not the end of the game. It's just, this is where you're at. You don't like where you're at. All right. So let's have this adversity reveal our true character, being a good human being, doing the right thing, character, integrity. Keep doing those things. It'll all swing back. You'll get your momentum back, and then you'll keep charging forward. Right now, you're just taking smaller steps.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's change gears real quick. And you worked alongside a Hall of Fame coach.
Yes.
And so for those that don't know the lacrosse world, we talked a little bit about it being all East Coast, and now it's spread across the country. But the powerhouses, Towson, Maryland, UVA, and maybe a couple others.
Oh, there's Syracuse, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Syracuse. I was
I
going
mean,
to think of
you've
Duke
got,
as well, yeah.
I mean, you've got, I mean, their lacrosse has grown so much, and the parity that's there. I mean, you're going to have your powerhouses coming out of, you know, the Big Ten, the ACC, the Ivy League, but you've got other coaches, other teams that are competing at a high level, doing things the right way. You know, like I said earlier, it's like, you know, you have these teams of young men being led by men that are using a sport to help these athletes become the best versions of themselves. Because at the end of the day, you're only an athlete for so long. You know this through your experiences, my experiences, as much as in my head, I want to be like I was when I had some opportunities collegiately, post-collegiately. That's gone. But guess what? I'm going to be a husband a lot longer than I was an athlete. I'm going to be a father a lot longer than I was an athlete. I'm going to be a positive influence to my friends a lot longer. I'm going to be a positive influence in my community a lot longer. That's what you need to gravitate to, and not try and live your life in a time that's gone. You see a lot of people in business or athletics or just in life, like they get caught in this loop of like, hey, this is who I was 10, 15, 20 years ago. They're trying to live back then while the world's literally passing them by right now.
Well, so it's interesting you say that. I want to ask about, it was Coach Nadlin, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to ask about him and the lessons you got, but it's interesting you mentioned that. I still, to this day, I'm 20 years removed from playing college football. I have not been back to a University of Wisconsin Whitewater football game because I still feel like I want to play out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's, I can do that. Or
so I can go to a Badger game.
Yeah.
That wasn't my field. I played a couple games on that field, but that wasn't my home turf. Going back to Whitewater, I know because even when I go back to watch, I used to watch my cousin and brothers play in the high school field. I'd smell the grass. I'd hear the helmets clacking off each other.
Yep.
And I'd get this like anxiousness inside my body. Like I wanted to be out there.
Yeah. You feel it like right
here.
here.
Yeah. Just in your chest.
You feel it, and then you start thinking about it up here.
Yeah.
And then you're like, here we go.
And now I know 20 years removed, I'd end up getting myself hurt. But it's still that like want to be out there. But so it was interesting you say that. So Coach Nadlin, what are some of the top, so like for, top 10 coaches of lacrosse all time, like what are some of the best takeaways that you are using today that you got from him?
Be a man. Something I learned from my father and saw him do. I've seen other coaches do, like a Kudelka, a Janzik, a Nadlin, where, when you look at leadership in everything, one of the things my dad taught me was, be a man, know your shit, take care of your people. Distilled it down pretty clean. Now you can go into each one of those and go deep.
Yeah.
But like those are three kind of like big things that I watched Coach Nadlin do all three of those. Watched Coach Kudelka, Coach Janczyk, like three guys that are super influential in my life, model that. You know, having the conversations after a huge win. Like, hey guys, you know, big win. Now we're ranked number 1 in the country, but guess what? Season doesn't end now. You know, and that's one of the things you learn in athletics. Like, hey, you might become the number 1 ranked team in the country. But guess who you're playing next week? The number 3 team. And guess what? They want to take down the number 1 team. And having those conversations to shift your viewpoint and focus because of the change now and be able to navigate that. So, you know, handling your success, also handling adversity and failure the same way. It's like, all right, cool. We didn't do what we needed to do. Whatever the result was, whatever the scoreboard says, whatever everybody saw on ESPN, you know, we weren't the best version of ourselves. We're always going to be a work in progress. So let's start focusing on what we need to do that. And let's go. And watching that happen in those conversations, you know, whether you're talking to a team, the student athletes and everybody around that team, sports performance, administrators and all that, to clearly define the mission again, mission intent, and then moving everybody in that direction, to having those conversations with the individuals like, hey man, I need more from you. More importantly, we need more from you if we want to achieve what we want to achieve. And this is what I need from you to do that. And sometimes those are tough conversations because those individuals are like, no, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is how I do it. Okay. It's not what the team needs.
Yeah.
And when you join a team, you have to put the team first, period. And one of the things in the locker room door at Towson, last thing you see before you walk through those doors, hang a hard left, hang another hard left, and there you are in Johnny Unitas Stadium. On the door is, and unless you're ready to put the team first, don't go through these doors. Pretty impactful words. And you see that every day, whether you're going to work out, whether you're going to go do extra work on your own, or whether you're going out to compete against some of the best teams in the country.
That sign should be up in about every business.
Oh, it should be everywhere. It should be on the refrigerator, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, because it's about what is right, not who is right again. It goes back to that. I had actually really shitty high school football coach senior year. And I've referenced him often in some of my writings and otherwise because I actually learned quite a bit from him, even though he was a terrible leader. Taught me who not to be. But he actually had one piece of advice that has stuck with me that was actually good advice. It was the week before I had 8 catches, 150 yards. Great game.
Hell of a game, man.
And it was a great game. And so I'm, let's say you and I are sitting next to each other in film review and I'm like yucking it up after we see a good play that I made and whatever it may be. And he pauses the playback because he must have heard us back there chatting. And he goes, Kosnick, no one reads yesterday's fucking newspaper.
Bam.
Shut me up real quick.
Oh, totally.
And I got the message.
Yeah.
Because we're on to next week.
You have to be. And I think too, like for people and businesses to really understand is you're always moving forward in theory. Now, a lot of people hit the pause and like to kind of hang out where they are and hang on to the earned success. That's cool. I think one of the things I'm still working on is being able to enjoy the wins and take the moment. Notice I said moment, not moment. We're not going to drag this out, but if you have a big win, by all means celebrate that big win. Whether it's going out to dinner with your significant other or taking your family out or taking the team out. Like, hey, great job, guys. We nailed this thing. We got that big contract, or we did this, or we did that. Hey, let's enjoy it. But then let's get back to it. Like, what got us here? Let's get back to what got us this win and apply it to others. But you get so many people are like, oh yeah, well, I won a game out of a 17-game regular season. Cool.
Yeah.
Great. You've got 14 more or 2 more or 15 more, whatever it is. you still got to keep playing. I mean, the game doesn't stop because of that one great win.
So I love that old Kobe clip where that female reporter was asking him in the finals when they're up 2-0. And he's like, she's like, why aren't you happy? He's like, what's there to be happy about? Job finished? Job's not finished.
Yeah. I mean, unreal. I mean, but again, talk about perspective. Talk about, hey, there's a job still to be done. Let's go. Yeah, we won. Great. But I want to hold the big trophy.
Yeah.
I want the big contract. I want to be able to look at my significant other and be like, yeah, financially, we are secure now. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Stop. So many people get hung on that. And then, as like I said earlier, like you see these business guys that have built successful business, they're still living on the past while navigating the present. And that's a hard thing to do. I mean, that creates a lot of friction with themselves and with their teams. Like, oh yeah, well, we did this. Well, dude, that was like 3 years ago or 3 months ago. Shit, 3 days ago. So let's keep moving. And that's interesting to get people to, navigate that in a way where they're not just becoming so, they're not ignoring the wins, but also not like, sitting on them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a balance. I think a lot of people ask that question is like, how long should I celebrate a win or should we celebrate a win or whatever it may be? And it's like, yeah, no, you should celebrate it. Like you said.
Yeah.
That being said, not too long, right? So if you want to take the weekend or if you want to have like let's say you set out a carrot for yourself that you're going to take a long weekend to go celebrate this big win after accomplishing it. Cool. Now rest and rejuvenate. Make sure you do that piece of it on that weekend. Celebrate that victory with a new perspective to come back and win the next quarter or the next month or the next year, whatever it is that you're going for.
Yeah, totally. I mean, those are things that I learned coaching with Nadlin. I mean, there was a time, in fact, so we beat the number 1 team in the country. We become ranked number 1, first time in the history of Towson. And we proceed to lose the next 4 out of 5 games. That was a tough March. It was a whole month of just losing to really good teams, but it's tough. And you got to navigate it. You got to work through it. Did that change our mission? No. We recognized we weren't in a good spot and we needed to do some things we needed to do, continue to work on them. We're always a work in progress and just keep hammering at it and tuning out the noise of everybody else of like, oh, well, you should do this or you should do that or why didn't you do this? And so, you're able to work through it. And that was really cool to see because a lot of people throw their hands up and like, whatever. But nah, we just kept pounding.
It's frustrating,
yeah.
But you got to work through the adversity.
Yeah, you just got to keep going. And all of a sudden, we go from being ranked number 1. I think at one point we went from being ranked number 1, falling out of the top 10, or clinging to the top 10, and then falling out of the top 10 and like hovering in the teens someplace. And then we worked ourselves back into the top 10, ended up winning a conference championship, and then hosting a NCAA first round game on ESPN. Who would have thought that back in March? But that was March.
Yeah.
We're hosting an NCAA game in May. Did we change who we were? No, we just actually went harder and embraced the processes, the systems, so we could be the best version of ourselves. And damn it, we're pretty good. I learned that through Coach Kidelka too.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people want things to be easy these days. Everybody's looking for the hack, to make it easy. Oh, fuck that. You want the hard. Hard makes you who you are.
The hard will teach you any hacks that if there are any hacks.
Yeah, yeah. You just figure it the fuck out and you move, and it's really cool. And I think one of the things I learned from Coach Kidelka, being blessed to be around great men who do things the right way consistently, is being able to sit there and navigate that, see that. And Coach Kidelka, we were one of the last year I was at the University of Lynchburg. We had a really good team, and we dealt with some adversity, and we were out doing some stuff on the practice. Our practice facility was away from the stadium, Schellenberger Field, and we're doing some really, really cool things, some team building and all that. And you could just tell the guys were just kind of like, I don't know, and this, that, the other. And I remember Kadelka pulled us all in, coaches, everybody. It was just like, guys, the fun is in the work. And once you switch that in your head, it's no longer a have to do, it becomes a get to do. And once you embrace that, man, you'd be surprised how the productivity, the attitudes, the effort, everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fun is in the work. The fun is in the process. You know, you see it. I mean, you know, quotes, you know, the journey is the destination. And I remember the first time I ever saw that, I was kind of looked at, I was like, oh, what? You know, you're so focused on the result. But the journey is where the magic happens.
Mm-hmm.
The journey defines who you're gonna be, who you are at that time. It's wild.
Yeah.
But once you embrace it, man, life becomes so much easier, and you become the best version of you.
Yep.
And you lean into things harder because you know that's where the results are going to come from. The results you want and will do anything for and desire are in that work. They're in the systems. They're in the processes. So get the fuck after it.
Yeah.
You know, let's fucking go. Let's move the needle together.
Moment by moment, day by day.
Yeah.
So speaking of the journey, you and your wife have been on quite a journey with FitFo.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone hasn't figured out yet what FitFo stands for, could you tell them what that is?
FitFo is an analogy, an acronym for figure it the fuck out. Because that's what we're doing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring it the fuck out. Moving forward. Being the best version of ourselves. Problem solving. So we can attain and achieve what we want, what we desire, and what we're willing to work for. You know, and that's one of the things with H group coaching. Like, that's what we focus on, is figuring it the fuck out. You know, if I'm working with you and your leadership team, I'm working with you as an individual or your leadership team for your business, we're going to figure it the fuck out and move forward so we can do what we need to do.
But you guys have a special product. I'm going to actually grab this so people can see it. And for those of you not watching on YouTube and listening, this would be the time to get on YouTube and see this. Let's make a little room on the table.
Yeah, let's do this.
So FitFo cans. Why don't you explain what everyone's looking at here?
Yeah, totally. So what we have here is, this is one of our...
Maybe I'll adjust the mic for you.
Yeah, here we go. Here we go, right there. So FitFo custom cans. This is what started in a crazy point in our life. Pandemic, I ended up being unemployed for 14 months and had to figure it the fuck out. You know, I had to keep a roof over our head, food in our mouths. At one point, I mean, here we are. We live in the best country in the world, hands down. Are we perfect? No. Can we get better at things? Yes. Do we need to get better at things? Yes. And at one point, we were rationing food. Not that long ago. I remember that. I remember literally sitting there like, all right, 2 for you, 1 for me, 0 for me, 1 for you, like doing that stuff. We live in a first world country. We live in the best country in the world. And yet here we are. That was a situation we were put in. And so FitFo custom cans, FitFo came about through that experience where we take a 50 cal ammo can, custom powder coat it, your color. And then with our team, we have a great team. And by the way, this is my wife's business. I actually work for my wife, which is a very interesting dynamic.
I have several clients that are in business with their wives, and I worked with my father for 15 years. So it's an interesting dynamic. There's always a layer of emotions, and then obviously work blends into family life, you know, sometimes, and we got to navigate those waters. So yeah.
And so what we came up with, growing up in a Marine family, you know, Marines love their ammunition. They also love their Marines. Ammo cans, airtight, watertight. It's a steel box.
Yeah.
But it gives you the ability to come up with something really creative for people who love cigars. and or cannabis, weed, whatever you want to call it, whatever is acceptable wherever you are in the
Yeah,
country.
wherever you are. But by the way, something to learn for those that don't know, the humidity of cannabis and cigars is relatively the same.
Yeah, you're going to run around like in the same area a little bit. And so what we do is we custom powder coat them. Our team, again, incredibly talented. Jared, Brett, do amazing work with custom airbrushing, hand painting, all this really, really cool stuff. And now
So you're saying you're not the artist.
Idea wise, I come up with a lot of stuff, but I recognize, again, this goes back to what we talked about. You got to follow before you lead.
Yeah.
And recognizing that there are people out there that can do a better job than you. By all means, you need to find them.
Yeah.
You need to bring them in and encourage, support, challenge them for success, and then move. And Brian from Black Sheep Leather in Bozeman is one of the best artists when it comes to leather. Hand tooled, carved, you name it. He's doing saddles, he's doing bags, he's doing belts, he's doing custom cans now. Some really, really amazing stuff going on. And this is one of our first in our Western line. So this is one of 3. So that's hand carved leather to match this can.
I did not, until I felt it, I did not know that was leather. I thought that was on the can.
Yeah, that's hand carved
awesome.
leather. It's unreal. And so we, again, working with our clientele, people who are now part of the FitFo family, and helping them create these one-of-one unique pieces of art that are functional. You can take this anywhere on the planet. You can take our cans anywhere with your cigars and do whatever you want with it. I would say treat it like your kids and your dog. Love them, take care of them. Just don't leave them in a hot car or overnight when it's -40. You'll be okay. Your cigars will be awesome. And so what we have here is one of the 3 in our new Western line. And you open this thing up and it's really cool. Just pop it open and, in here you've got, just some different things, got a little beat up in the travel, but that's okay. But you've got Boveda humidification pack holder that holds everything in, keeps everything like humidified the way it should be. Just sticks right there. And the cool thing, with Boveda, we've partnered with them. They're awesome. And you're able to, create this thing that keeps your cigars basically perfectly humidified. Holds up to 60 cigars.
Is that styrofoam?
Custom laser cut foam.
Oh, nice.
From Guard Dog. Like they're one of our teammates and they do some amazing things and you're able to do some stuff with them specifically for these cans, which is awesome. And then, holds, 60, 70 cigars, different lengths and gauges. And it's storytelling. You walk into a room with this and put this down on the table, it's going to create a conversation at some level. Again, being blessed and partnering with Boveda, like we have the digital hygrometer we put in there. So people know, what the humidity is, 71%. These are 72% just because this, it just works really, really well, keeping your cigars where they need to be. But, these things have traveled around the world. TSA friendly. I've never been hassled going through an airport as this is my carry-on. Guys in the cigar industry that do have one of these have taken them down to Nicaragua and different places as they're going through their testing, bringing cigars back, doing whatever. We think they're really cool. A lot of people think they're really cool. But it's storytelling.
Yeah.
It enables people to tell part of their journey. And we've got some really cool projects that are coming up. But, we're really excited about the Western line and things that are coming out. But it's one of those things like, all right, cool. Like, I really like this green. I like this. Boom, boom, boom. All right, let's do it. Or, hey, this is my journey. Like, for fact, you love the Badgers. Like, we can tell that story and you can take it anywhere. And, it's a great conversation piece. You're able to talk. You're able to share. And these are legacy pieces. If you were to have one, your kids would fight over this after you're gone. And
assuming they like cigars.
Assuming they like cigars. Or even if they didn't, it's like, hey, man, this is Dad's custom can. I want that.
Yeah.
And we actually, one of our members in our FitFo family back in Philadelphia, we did a really, really cool one for him. And he called us up as soon as he opened the box and was like, wow, like here it is. And he's like, I just want to let you know that my sons are going to fight over this when I'm gone. Because his sons are like, oh my God, Dad, look at this. This is amazing. Like blah, blah, blah. And, you know, really, really cool. And that really hit home. We've actually done one for a guy in Montana where it was an urn. So his dad's ashes went in one of these. We had a custom brass tray made with a big cross, split the top shelf into 4 because he had 4 children, and each one of his children put something in each section. They shut it and they buried it on the ranch in eastern Montana. And so just really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, this is creating a wow experience for clients, and that's what all business owners should be trying to aspire to. Something unique, something that stands apart. The packaging, the labeling, the attention to detail. It's all second to none. Are you allowed to talk about the one you just did for Tim?
Yeah. So we did a really cool one. I'll talk about the one we did for a great organization, the Shamrock 555 Foundation. That it was done for Stephen Luigi Piazza, who passed away due to cancer. But before he left, he wanted to help the children of Detroit. And so every year they have this huge golf event. And the goal this year was to raise over $100K in a day. And they did. Blew it out of the water, did really well. We met somebody who Stephen Luigi Piazza was a mentor to and had a huge impact on his life. And he's like, hey, I want you guys to create a can for this event that we're going to auction off. So we can help raise a lot of money for a great cause, because the Shamrock 555 Foundation supports other foundations, and they're able to really have an impact on the young people. And so we created this really cool thing where, we have the silhouette of the skyline. We have Believe Land, which was, kind of a term that he had and used a lot. And we had his initials on it. He was a big Nike guy, big shoe guy, sneakerhead, where he would wear a pair of Nikes a day and then give them away. Wore them once and gave them away to somebody. I mean, really cool stuff. And so we had the Nike swoosh on the top of the lid. And when the light hits it in a certain way, you see all the little swooshes show up. And other times, because of the lighting, you don't see them. So it's kind of a really cool effect there. And we were able to nail that. And that can alone, I think, raised over $4,500
That's awesome.
for a great cause.
Yeah.
And then we took one down to, this is where I saw Tim Grover speak, took one down to John Matson, which was a gift. And same thing, like we told his story, like he has invested everything into Superhuman, him and his wife, Neviv, they're doing some really, really cool stuff. And so it has like the logo, it has like his coined term of go get what's yours. And then it has this picture of him that was custom airbrushed, hand painted. I mean, the guy played in the NFL. I mean, he looks like an action figure, 6'5", just built. And that's on the can. And so that will tell his story no matter where he goes. And I know with the coaching that he does and the groups that he works with, they enjoy cigars after getting down to business and sitting around. Pull that thing out, put it on the table, and pull out great Cuban cigars and, using, cutters and lighters and all this stuff. Like, it just adds to a moment. It adds to building relationships.
Well, and the cigar thing, as you know, one of the best things about the community and introducing others to the cigar community is gifting cigars and telling the story about the cigar and saying, hey, do you like more of a light, a medium, or a bold? This is a lot of us that are deep into cigars know the brands and the stories, or know the specific stick in that story and how it'll smoke and how consistent they are, or, something special about the label or the vitola or whatever it may be. So it's such a piece of the cigar community is gifting, and having others really appreciate it with you.
Totally. And I think it's just really cool. And so, this idea literally came about in Baltimore on our stoop. My wife and I, Aaron, like we enjoy cigars. We've always enjoyed cigars. Even when we were dating, that was kind of like our Friday night thing. We would hang out on a park bench, have a Jameson and ginger and a cigar, and she would go off with her girlfriends. I'd go connect with my college teammates that were living around DC at the time. We'd catch up later on that night, or we'd catch up Saturday morning. But that was our time, our moment, and we carried that through. Even with having 3 beautiful children, it's nice to be able to sit down outside after they go to bed and light up a cigar, just catch up.
What's her favorite smoke?
She is a big fan of Atabey.
Yeah.
Great cigar.
Those are for a light wrap, because I'm more of a Maduro or a dark, medium to dark. Like this Trinidad to darker is more my style. But for a lighter wrap, I'll take an Atabey over an Opus X 20th Blue every day of the week.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
And they're 60% less in cost.
Yeah, I mean it's a great cigar. Mike Ketchen introduced me to Atabey, then I introduced Aaron, which I am awesome and excited that I introduced it to her. It's also created a problem because that's what she loves and that's what she gravitates towards every time, which is great for Dave Garofalo and United Cigars. Maybe it's not so great for me and my wallet, but
they're better. They're better than the blues, though. I mean, you can get those for $20 and $30 versus $50 to $60.
Yeah, but it's just that creating the moment to be able to have those conversations
and slow down, like you mentioned.
Slow down. I mean, and that's the thing. We live in a world now where everything is go, 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 rush, rush, rush. Why don't I have this 10 minutes ago? Be able to sit down and get to know somebody, or continue to have those conversations that are going to help you, your team, your family achieve what you want to achieve. Like, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
And cigars, coffee, a meal, like you said earlier, breaking bread with somebody, it can be transformational on a lot of different levels.
Yeah.
And being able to do that, being able to create something that tells people's story and encourages that, we're just incredibly blessed to be able to do that, and grateful for all our opportunities that we've had. And we're super excited about the opportunities we've got coming up, whether it's working with individuals or, a business for gifts, whatever, we're able to do that. And it's just a lot of fun.
Well, it sounds like charity should be in touch with you for sure. If you can do 1-on-1 cans and they can raise $4,500 or more potentially, depending on where it's at.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we, because of my family and our ties to the military, the Marines, like we do work with Talon's Reach, Nick Jones's outfit in Bozeman. He's doing some great things with Special Forces guys post career to help them get situated again, acclimatized to the world, and help them kind of navigate some things that they're working through. Like those men and women that have served our country, and for them and all of them, thank you so much for everything that you have done, and your families, because it's not just them, it's everybody around them has to go through that as well. And from seeing it up close with my dad going on deployments for a year sometimes, and not having a parent, not having my father around, and having my mom, run the family and take care of business while my dad was out doing what this country asked him to do. It's the least we can do, So, super excited about Talon's Reach and Nick Jones, and also, another outfit that's in Bozeman that works with active duty special forces, men, women, and their families. Another great outfit called Big Sky Bravery. We got connected with them when we moved out to Montana to be closer to Erin's family. Her family's been in Montana since 1876. Small little town called Phillipsburg. The ranch is still out there. cattle and hay, and just a really cool spot. So that opportunity presented itself. And again, through cigars, you get to have the coolest conversations with the coolest people. So we're doing cans for them for their fundraising events that are coming up in the next couple months. And we're just excited to give something back, and help others. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we should be doing.
That's what we're called to do.
Yeah, that's what we're called to do. You look through the good book, you look at the examples through Jesus, his disciples, what God has given us and has shown us, like how awesome life can be. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And I feel more people should do that. Give as much as you can give. I mean, don't give from an empty cup, but give what you can. And you'd be surprised what doors and what opportunities you can walk through and you're presented with when you do that. And so working with those outfits and what they do and what they stand for and people are involved, like that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like for us, I mean, like if you're not doing it, there's something wrong with you.
Yep, 100%. And the more you give, the more you get, always. And most people don't think about that often because they're too focused on inward instead of outward. So where can people follow you, H Group, FitFo, follow the journey?
We're, when it comes to FitFo, you can follow us on Instagram, FitFo_custom_cans. When it comes to H Group, we are building that out right now. We are working with some really, really cool individuals there on the coaching front and talking to some businesses as we grow that. So we are easy to find. And once we get H Group, the website up, and again, we've got a super talented team there. Alec being one of them and helping build out that website. That's going to be pretty special. That's going to give people an opportunity to sit there and be like, hey, I know I can be better. I need to be better for myself, for my family, for my business, my leadership team of my business. That's coming soon. And we're almost there. And I'm excited for that and really leaning into it and going after what I am good at and what I have learned from others. Again, I stand on the shoulders of giants. And that is really fulfilling for me and for us to be able to do that and do it in our way and at our time and have that impact we want to have in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Being positive, being proactive, handling our adversity, and really leaning into life and the journey called life.
Yeah, that's it's important for everyone to note that right there is God put us in this time for a very specific reason. So a lot of us right now, especially with the political season that's upon us and the vitriol that goes back and forth during political season is, we can look at the world and what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on in our own country, and think all this bad stuff. And all of a sudden we get trapped into this negative spiral. And it's like, oh, what can little old me do? Well, there's actually a lot that you can do. And so just remember, and sometimes I've heard even parents talk about, oh, my poor kids. They're like, no, God put our kids, put us. We were born at this time for a very specific reason.
Oh, completely.
And we just got to remember it.
Yeah, you got to remember it. And then you got to lean into it. It shouldn't be, that victim mentality. Throw that in the trash. I mean, anything and everything that you are experiencing now, if you have faith is a big word for us. You have faith in your abilities to get through it, faith in the big man in JC to help guide you through it, and faith that you'll be better for going through it. That only makes you a better person.
Yes.
Period. And that helps you to have that influence, positive influence on the communities that you're involved with. But it starts with you. If you're not being the best version of yourself, shame on you. You know it. You got to take the steps to do it.
Yep.
You look at, physically, you look at the transformation some people have gone through, like you've gone through and I've gone through. I mean, I can show you pictures when I was playing at the highest level. And then I can show you a time where I was living in the past. I was still living in the past up here, but trying to function in the real world. Dude, I look like a peeled potato with nipples. It's gross. But again, I was like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, you know, but I'm an athlete and I was an athlete and I'm big boned. Dude, man, I've never seen a big bone skeleton in my life. And I've been to a shit ton of museums. No, it's just me being lazy. And then you look at where I'm at now, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, I am going to be the best version of me. For me, number one, it's like, oh, that's being selfish. No, it's not. Because I know when I am, I have a better relationship with my wife, my kids, my friends. My business operates better. Our businesses operate better. And I'm able to have that impact. It all starts with ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Andy Frisella and everything he talks about and like what he goes through and what he's gone through. It all starts with ourselves. You listen to guys like Sean Whalen and Brad Lee and all those guys. Number one common denominator. You look at John Madsen and all these other guys that are doing it. They always talk about taking care of yourself, being the best version of you. That's what you have to do. And if you're not doing it, shame on you.
Yep.
If your business isn't operating in the best way it can, shame on you. Go get that coaching like from you and what you're doing and all the cool things that you've got going on. Come talk to me. You know, like let's make that magic happen. And let's do it so we collectively, individuals and businesses can have that positive impact on the communities. Because then you're throwing that proverbial pebble in the pond and the ripples start to go out.
Yep.
So if your business is operating at a better place, guess what? Your employees are operating better. They're, you know, more engaged with their families, their communities, their churches. Everything just starts to ripple out. And, you know, and as small as that might seem, the impact is actually huge.
Massive. And oftentimes you won't even know till many, many years down the road what that impact was. And that's why you just keep casting those stones, keep casting those lines and create that impact. I have no idea how long this was today. Yeah. I haven't been paying attention to that. No. So welcome everybody to our fireside chat. We're going to wrap it up. The question I always end with is, what's an unpopular belief that you hold to be true that you think most others would disagree with?
Great question. And the answer is, I'll go back to Coach Kidalka. The fun is in the work. Do not shy away from the work that needs to be done. Instead of running away from it and trying to find the hacks, trying to find the easy way, get that out of your head. Lean into it. Understand that the challenges, the adversity, the frustrations are where the magic happens, and it's where you need to be. And that's how you become the best version of yourself. 100%.
Be the buffalo. Charge the storm.
Yep. Lean into it, man.
Yeah. All right, Spartans, you know what to do. Share this episode far and wide. Do me a favor. Leave Brian a note, either whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on his personal page, send him a DM. Share what your biggest takeaway was today. I know all of our guests appreciate that. They're spending time having a conversation, pouring into all of you. So share this far and wide. Remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.
This is Sparta!